All right, today we are building rock sliders for the brick. So we have no sliders on there. We also don't have a rear bumper, which we're gonna need to build one of those as well. So I got a 4x5, or I think this one's actually a 3x5. I wanted a 4x5, they didn't have it. So I got a 3x5 by quarter. I got 2x6 by quarter, and then I got an 1.5 inch square by quarter, and then I have some 5x3/8 flat. This is going to be our rear bumper mount. That's going to be our rear bumper, and then the 2x6 is going to be our sliders, and then the 1.5 inch square is going to be going from the sliders to the frame rails. And then I have some 4x4 by quarter angle iron in my scrap rack that we're going to use to plate the frame rails to add a little bit of beef to the sliders. So let's go ahead, pull some measurements, and get to cutting. So for my rock sliders, I have this bolt here for my fender. So I'm going to start right here on the back side of it, and I'm going to run it all the way till about, I think I was doing like right here. So not all the way to the end. If I ever go bigger or want to trim fenders or anything, I'll have some room there. So we're doing 80 inches of this 2x6. And then I'm going to cut them at an angle. I'm going to look at 45 and see how the 45 looks, but we might need to go a little more than that. Okay, so I got both my rock sliders cut. This one I still need to put a 45 on, but that is what they look like. So now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up these ends so I can weld a plate on to the ends of all 4 of them. I gotta bevel this one, grind these up a little bit. All right, so I got them all cleaned up, cut, ready to go. Before you clean them up, you should probably test fit them. I'm gonna go ahead and throw mine in now and see how we look, but in case you need to shorten them, it might not be a bad idea to cut them, test fit them, then clean them up. So there we are. That is not at the height it's gonna be, obviously, because it's lower in the lower in the front. My jack stands aren't tall enough to get all the way up there. So right now I'm just looking at it, making sure I like the angles on the end, making sure the length is good, which the length actually looks perfect. So I'm really happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and take some measurements, see how far away the inside is from my frame rails so I can get those pieces cut, and then I should maybe be able to get a couple of them built on the fab table. My frame rail kind of comes down and then goes back up after my radius arm mount. So it's gonna make it a little tricky because the back ones are gonna be coming down at an angle meeting into this, which is gonna help because it's gonna be like a boat side, if you will, but it's gonna make it a little more tricky to mount because of those angles. But for now, it looks good. We're gonna go ahead, take the measurements, and get everything cut. So that's about where I want them sitting. You can see I have 1 inch out, and then the whole rocker is protected. So if you're wondering how I measured all of this, on the bottom of my cab, this is your rocker. So as you can see, I got a piece of sheet metal on the inside and then the trim on the outside. So I measured from this piece out, and it's about 5 inches from the inside to the outside. So my rocker's 5 inches. And then I wanted to stake out an extra inch just to give extra protection, because you don't want it flush with the body unless you're going for that look. So that's how I got the 6 inch. And then 2 inches kind of seemed standard for these sliders. Obviously you can use 1, you can use 3, 4, doesn't matter, but I'm trying to keep this more on the higher side, tucked up into the truck, while also being strong, just so I don't high center on a bunch of stuff. Alright, and then that is what you are looking for. Obviously you don't have to grind it down like I did. You can just leave the welds exposed. I just think it looks better, nice and clean, when all your edges are rounded, everything is flush. It just looks like a piece, you know, it looks like it's formed that way. That's what I like. So go ahead and cap all 4 of the sides on both, or I guess both sides of both your sliders. And then I cut out this 1.5 inch piece, which is going to get welded in to the front. Since this is 2 inches, 1.5 inches, I'm going to put this on 2 pieces of 1/4. That way it'll be in the middle of this and it won't look weird. I'm going to tack that in, and then I'll go ahead and put it back in the truck and kind of look at it and see if it works. And then I'll start laying out where I want the other ones to be. So I got my slider on the table here. I put these bobbins in, pushed it up against the bobbins, and I put some other bobbins in at 90, got it clamped down on top of a piece of 1/4 inch. This is 2, this is 1.5 inches, so if you do 1/4 inch spacing, it'll be in the middle. So I got that tacked in, and I'm gonna go ahead, pull it off, throw it back in the truck, make sure everything looks good before I burn it in. Alright, so here is where we're at. That's gonna be our reveal on the rock slider. We're gonna be that tight to the body. Might need to go up in the front a little bit, but it looks like my bed is actually a little bit taller than my cab, so I'm gonna get it level to the cab. But our mounts are gonna go like this. I have a piece of that 4x4 by 1/4 angle in there. I'm going to be cutting the bottom off so it's flush with the frame. That's going to get welded to the frame, and then that's just going to help reinforce the frame so that when these sliders are bashing against rocks, they don't tear out of the frame or twist or anything funky. So that's what we got going on. And then back there is where I was telling you guys it gets a little weird because my frame kicks up. So I'm going to try to get 4 mounts on this. I'm going to get this front one all tacked up, and then I'm going to figure out my next back one, the very end one, and then I'll figure out the 2 in between after I can get this free floating without jack stands or clamps. So this is where we're leaving it for tonight. The bed, not sure if my bed's just not straight or what, but this gap grows out. I think that's just kind of how these beds are formed, as they kind of taper up. But underneath here, sorry, the lighting's pretty bad. All my lights are dead. I got that brace in. We got another brace here. And then we got a straight brace there. And another brace in the front there. I was spending way too much time on it, trying to get everything level, everything straight, and parallel to the frame and whatnot. But I don't know what's going on, because it looks like it's tapering out when you look down the body line. It gets wider out there. I don't know if that's how these bodies are, if the bed is pushed, if something's bent, but all my measurements off the frame were the same all the way through, so it should be parallel to the frame, but it definitely does not look like it. You know, if it is happening to where this is farther out, that's not a bad thing. When I hit rocks, it's just going to push away from the rocks, so that's fine. I did cut all my pieces for the other side, so they should all be exactly the same if I put my frame mounts in the same spots on the frame, but that's for tomorrow. So I'm gonna go get some rest, eat some food, and we'll be back at it in the morning. All right, so here's where we are. These are the rears because they go up. These are the fronts because they're flat. So you can see this one's slightly tilted that way. This one's pretty flat. Position of where it is on the plate and everything doesn't matter that much. It just kind of depends on where it is and what's around it. This one has a line that comes down right here, so I can't move it over, and then there's the transmission cross member on this side, so I can't center that. This one's pretty good and centered, and then these ones are good enough and centered. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these burnt in, burn those in, and then we'll go ahead, paint it, or I guess test fit it, and then paint everything except for these angle irons, because I got to burn those into the frame still. So when we test fit it, I'll mark the frame so I can grind the frame, get somewhere clear to weld to. So all of that is now finished welded. It's definitely not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So now I'm going to go ahead, throw this back in the truck, clamp it up, make sure everything looks good, everything fits good, and then I'll mark my frame so I can grind the frame, and then I'll paint this. And there it is, that's the slider. I'll paint it up. I'm gonna go ahead and build the other one. I'm not gonna film it, I don't wanna bore you guys with that, because you saw me build this one. So we're gonna go ahead and build the other one, and then we will be back when we're installing them. All right, there we have it. Rock sliders are on. There's this side. And this side. Look pretty good. Turned out pretty good. Everything got welded on the inside, and I painted it. I did find out on the frame, it has all this undercoating nastiness. It doesn't work too good with a grinder, but if you get a torch and like a metal putty knife, you can heat that stuff off and scrape it off pretty easily. So that's what I ended up doing, but she's good to go. Should be ready to go bash on some rocks. Stay tuned for the next episode. We're gonna be building a rear bumper for this truck, and then we're gonna be cutting the bed right here in line, and then using some of those 1.5 inch to make some guards for the back, and then that 3x5 for the bumper with reverse lights and tow points, the whole 9 yards. Should be pretty cool. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. Do not forget to get entered into our giveaway. We are picking a winner on May 3rd. One of you guys could be winning that duffel bag and all that recovery gear. So stay tuned for some more episodes coming out on this truck. We're getting ready to go on the Rubicon in July. So we're just getting some last finishing updates. And you might have seen some coilovers in the background of this video. Don't want to do any spoilers yet, but that's going to be a cool one. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.